Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is chapter 1. We are going to talk about how information technology changed the way we conduct business and we live our life. We started talking in class about how information technology is changing how we conduct business today and how we live our lives. Everything that we do on a daily basis has to do with some kind of a digital device, whether it is the mobile phone or a laptop or an iPad. So you are constantly using technology in order to do the daily business functions. Like think of yourself, the student coming to class, when you have to check your room, for example, on banner, the timing and the instructor, for example, and then for Blackboard, once you know where you have to go for class, then you will need like to go on Blackboard in order to get the course content. And then throughout the day, you are looking on a browser or looking at Google, for example, to find information. Whether it is information related to school or related to your business. So you're constantly accessing information from so many different machines. So the book says that the average American relies on 250 computers per day. And when I asked you that question in class, you said, oh, I don't think that I'm using 250 computers. But think about it, every time you are retrieving information from the internet, you are using several machines. You don't see them, but they are behind the scenes. So when you check the weather, you are accessing a particular server somewhere, and then you check, for example, the Ministry of Interior to see if you can bring someone to visit you. So definitely in any day you are using computers, not just the ones that you are holding in your hand or at your fingertip, but those that are behind the scenes when you go to the internet in order to fetch information. So I would say it is the same, that even for Qatari here, you need to be accessing information and you need to be conducting business using computers. Remember, the computers are behind the scene. They are a server somewhere. So pulling information from a database doesn't mean that it's only the computer that you are using, but it is another computer somewhere that's connected to the internet. Now, regarding information technology, we said information technology changed the way we live our life. So now we hardly talk on the phone. Most of the time, you guys are texting or using VoIP, which is voice over the internet. If you're no longer also doing long distance calls. A lot of people have Viber or other applications that they use in order to do or to have long distance calls. We have seen things that emerged lately, like the social sharing. Now you and me can also provide service to the rest of society. So an example would be Uber. Uber is a network of individuals who would like to drive, and they provide their service to others. They have a mobile app on their phone, and also the user who wants their service has that app. So if I want to go to the university and I don't have a car, then I can use the Uber app to call it's not a cab, it's actually a driver, and that driver can be a student, can be someone who wants extra money at a certain point in time. So they're not renting, they are providing their services to drive others around in return for a pay. Usually in the US, Uber is even cheaper than the regular taxi. My experience here in Qatar, it's either the same as a limousine or maybe a little bit more because you have to pay for the convenience that you don't have to do a reservation or anything, just 5 minutes or maximum 15 minutes before you need a cab. You just like use your app and determine your destination. Airbnb is another new business model that we are seeing, in that regular, again, individuals are renting their homes. So if you are going to travel abroad and you will not be using your home for a couple of months, you can rent it for anyone who will be coming to Doha, and for extra money. So, but you have to agree to specific quality of service. The house needs to be very clean, and again, the furniture at a certain standard, so that you would match the quality that's available in a hotel. The ability, or what we have talked about, whether it's Uber or Airbnb, these are what we call management information systems. They are mobile applications, but they are actually also categorized as MIS. These are like systems, as we said, that use information technology in order to help people perform certain tasks. So in the case of Uber, you're helping people who have some free time and they have a car to earn additional income. You're also helping people who do not have cars to have rides to places without having to do reservations and so on. Same thing with the Airbnb. Someone who has an empty house can use now the application in order to rent it to others. So again, it is information technology that is allowing people to do certain tasks. Usually it is to improve their quality of life. MIS is a very important field of study, simply because now there is no business that does not have an MIS. Usually they would use 1, 2, 3, or 4 different MISs, but there is hardly any. If you go to any governmental agency, you will see they have several applications. Ones that they provide over the internet for users, for example, to have self-service, meaning that they find information themselves without having to have any support, and so on. So you can hardly find any business that is not dealing with MIS. It's really a very booming field also. Lately, and in the US, they said up until year 2017, you will have shortage in people that can develop or can manage or can use information technology. It is, of course, an important business discipline, as we said, because it's different from the computer science, because computer science is dealing with hardware, for example, or creation of tools, whereas we focus on information technology that help businesses, that help people. So it is a very important business discipline. Lately, MIS have gotten a lot of attention because things like big data or the cloud or IoT, and I'll just like say a sentence or two on each. When we talk about big data is a technology, it's a platform where because of the huge amount of data that we collect every day, we need ways of analyzing the data, of summarizing it, and then making good decisions. So now let's look at Facebook. How much information is collected in any 1 second even. I'm not going to say a day or an hour. Huge amount of data in there. Now the question is, can companies use the data collected by Facebook in order to improve the service they provide to their customers? Can I find a little bit information about my customers so that I can get them to buy more and more from me? So big data is dealing with technologies that either store or analyze information collected through the internet, whether it is through social media, and now we also have sensors. Sensors are collecting information all the time. So you can have sensors in a parking space, in a parking garage or a parking lot. And the sensors would send information to people trying to find location for parking. So if the parking lot has a space, it will send emails or like texts to people who are trying to find a place to park. Anyone who is looking for a parking space will get these text messages. The cloud is another big thing nowadays. The cloud is a service that provides storage capacity or processing capacity to organizations. Meaning what? Meaning that I can rent a space to store my data. I don't have to buy a huge computer because I have a lot of data. All I can do is rent a space. So if you don't want to, it's the same like if you don't want to buy a house, okay, rent an apartment or rent a villa and so on. So the cloud enables companies that do not want to invest in the infrastructure to rent spaces through other large companies. So Amazon has a cloud, Microsoft has a cloud, HP has a cloud. All of these large companies are investing huge amount of dollars in their infrastructure, in their computers. And they are renting these spaces to regular individuals or also to smaller organizations. Now, since we do not have much experience with the cloud, we need people again in MIS to tell us what would be the best way to manage the cloud. So understanding how to manage the cloud is a responsibility of MIS. I don't know if you all remember what I said about IoT, manage the IoT. Now, I is Internet, and the O stands for of things. I asked you the question in class, and I said, who are using the Internet? And you all say, humans, individuals are using the Internet. Now, next thing is, machines are going to use the Internet, or things are going to use the Internet. So we said that Internet of Things would be the use machines or things using the Internet. And I give you the example of the shoes, the Nike shoes, counting the steps that you are taking, and then sending that information to your trainer, for example, or yourself, and telling you this is the number of miles that you have, or the number of kilometers that you have walked or jogged at a certain day. I told you about like wearables, things that you wear, clothes that will have these sensors and will keep track of how long does it take for a particular shirt, for example, to wear off. So the things are going to connect to the internet. Whether it is a cloth that you are wearing, the shoes, the bag, your watch, all of these things are going to connect to the internet and will enable you, will provide you with information, and they will lead to less and less human intervention. So we talked about the washing machine, for example. If it needs tune-up, it will not continue like to operate until it completely breaks down. No, as soon as it requires tune-up, it will send a message to the maintenance center, and they will dispatch someone to look at it. We talked about your oven or your stove top downloading recipes for you. The refrigerator is going to tell you or give you a shopping list. These are the things that you need. They are missing from the refrigerator. So you are seeing things providing information to you. Why? Because they are able to communicate with each other and they are able to pull out information from the internet or send information to the internet. Now we have two challenges. One is privacy and security. Now, I don't know where the information that's being collected about me is going. In the case, as we said, of Nike, it may go to your trainer, it may go to your physician, but it may also go to your insurance company. So if the insurance company find out that you are not living a healthy lifestyle, they may raise the premium. So people now are very worried about their privacy and security because of the Internet of Things. If I sit on a chair, that chair is collecting information about me. It could be the weight, for example, and sending that information. We talked about the Google Glass and ability of people to take pictures of you without your consent. So all of these are a big problem is the privacy and security. The other problem is the intelligence that they are generating from the data. Now, what they are saying is the government can tell who can commit a crime even before they commit it. So people are saying, you have to be careful now, because if I haven't committed a crime, how come you treat me as a criminal even before I do anything? They are using, of course, statistics in order to derive the intelligence, but a lot of people say this is not ethical to do that. When we talk about MIS, we really are talking about three things together, three things that coordinate and work together. You cannot have one and not the other two. All three must work together to provide the MIS. We talk about people. We haven't reached a stage where information technology can handle everything without or with zero human intervention. You will always see people in the picture. People will make decisions. People will continue to communicate with each other. People will control the information technology. So there is no way that people will be out of the picture. And of course, if we're talking about information technology, we said they use technology in order to help people perform their jobs. So I have to have information. And of course, I have to have technology. If I have technology without the information, I cannot give much. There is nothing I can do. Every technology needs input, some kind of information in order for it to process it. So we have to have some information into the system so that the system can provide a meaningful output. That output is presented to people. So what are the different roles that are involved in technology? We said people are important because people will always make decisions. But also, who will build the technology? You have to have business analysts, and these are people who try to understand what kind of technology do we need. You have to have designers and architects, and they design the technology. Like you design a house, you draw the house. They also have drawings of technology. You have developers, and these who are the builders, the people who build the technology. They are sometimes called developers, sometimes they call them programmers because they write code. Building technology involves writing code. And then of course you have network administrators. Every technology that we see today is connected to the internet, is connected to a network. So you have to have a network administrator, someone who manages and administers the network. Make sure that there is no blockage in a certain part of the network, that you don't have a lot of traffic on one side and the other side have barely any traffic on it, that all nodes are working. You also have a database administrators. We talked about information technology, and we said it handles information. So where do I store the data? And who do I give access to? That's the work of a database administrator. You also have web developers, those who develop and create websites. We said everything now is on the internet, so I have to develop applications or for the to be used on the internet, and now also the mobile apps. So all of this require developers. And then most importantly, you have power users. These are the people who are going to use the technology. They are going to use the technology heavily on a day in, day out basis. So all three work together, whether it's people, information, and technology, they work together in order to create the MIS. So I cannot have MIS with just information, of course. And I cannot have it with information and technology. We have to have people in there. When we have integration, when we have coordination and synergy between all three, then we can have a competitive advantage. We can do things cheaper and faster. We can increase our revenue. We can become more innovative. And I'll give you examples of each. So with the case of competitive advantage, meaning that you beat your competitors. You are better than the competitors. And if we look at Amazon, when Amazon first came out, there was, at that time there was Barnes and Nobles, which is a brick and mortar store, a store that sells books. But there is an actual store, so you go to the store and buy. Amazon came up with a totally new model. And they said, okay, we'll sell the books over the internet. And people can sell their used books, and also publishers can sell on Amazon. But it was a new model, and because of the fact that it is a new model, it's more economical, they attracted a lot of customers, so they had a competitive advantage. In terms of less cost, when we look also at eBay, now I don't know if many of you can buy actually from eBay here in Doha, but in the US, majority of the time, people who are middle class or are very aware of prices, whenever they want to buy anything, they look it on eBay first. Is there someone out there who is selling their stuff? And they usually, the people, like individuals who are selling their stuff on eBay, they are selling it for less price than the stores. So you may find a dress in a store for $1,000 or like $100 or $300, and then you look it up on eBay and it's just for $60. So you're saving quite a bit of money. And it's not always that these things are used. Sometimes they have that they show that they have their own tag, and that the product has not been used before. And we also talked about new business processes coming out. So innovation, in terms of innovation like Airbnb. Who would have thought that you can rent your house when you are out for vacation? So information, as we said, is very important, because without information you cannot make decisions. So it's really very important that you have information. And information is different from data. And it's of course different from business intelligence. If we look at data, data is very raw. So it's just one piece of information that does not give you much, doesn't tell you much. So if I just say 50, so you understand, yes, it is a number, but there is no context around it. Or if I say Karma Sharif, and just like stop right there, well, you understand it is a name, but that's all about it. You don't know who is Karma Sharif. If I say Karma Sharif was born in Egypt, now I'm giving you information. When I put the data in context, then it becomes information. So raw data does not provide much value. You don't get much value from the raw data. Information, as we said, is data but put in a context. So you understand the meaning better. You have a better understanding of the meaning when you get information. If I say Karma Sharif is an MIS instructor, then it tells you something. You have a better understanding of who is Karma Sharif. Karma Sharif has been teaching in the United States, so again, this is additional information. But if I tell you just red, color red, and you don't know red refers to what? Now, if I say a Toyota Camry, red in color, then you know that we are talking about a vehicle and the color of that vehicle. So in that case, it is information. If you can find out the context, if you have a better understanding, then that's information. So looking at the graph, if I say just the age, 20, 27, 23, you understand these are like ages of maybe students in a classroom or employees in a particular department. So I don't get much information with just a list of the ages. I can get information if I say the average age is 22.8. That the youngest age is 21 and the oldest age 25. I may be talking about my class, for example, my classroom, and I say I have 20 students, average age is 22, the youngest is 21, and the oldest age is 26. So here there is information. But the information is now aggregated. I'm not talking about the individual students. I'm actually talking about, I've summarized that information and came up with the average age, the youngest age, the oldest age, and so on. So I've already talked about that. I said my name, where I graduated from, classes I taught are all raw data. So if I say Karma Sharif, Texas A&M, MIS 421, if I don't tell you, if I don't give you a context, then that's raw data. But when I gave you the presentation in class, the presentation, and I said, my name is Karma Sharif, I came from the United States, and I graduated from American University in Cairo, and I taught several classes in ERP systems, introduction to management, and so on, then in that case, this is information. Business intelligence is a little bit more than just information. This is analysis of the information. So you're trying to either use the information in order to predict the future, or you're trying to provide insights from the data, or you're trying to prescribe what should I do in the future. All of this is under business intelligence. Usually it has like 3 different things: descriptive statistics like average, minimum, maximum. It has predictive information, what will happen in the future. And then it also has prescriptive information, meaning what should I do. So with regard to business intelligence, you can get insights regarding how to better serve your customers, or what is it that I need to do in order to differentiate myself from competitors, or how good a business partner is, how profitable to me he is. Should I continue with his doing business with him? So when we're talking about business intelligence, we're talking about information that's being analyzed. Usually you use statistics in order to get intelligence from the information. And it helps you make strategic decisions. So when I predict the future, I'm able to make decisions now so that I become profitable. I'll continue to be profitable in the future. So examples of things that you can get from a business intelligence tool is, which student should I offer admission to at a university? Universities want students that will not transfer, for example, to another university. They want students that will succeed. They want students that will graduate on time. So is there anything about the profile of a high school student that I can tell whether this student in the future will be successful or not? So in order to answer that question, will this student be successful in the future, 2 years or 3 years from now? That's business intelligence. So answering that question is a business intelligence software. Again, companies are worried about who to hire. They want to hire an employee that will not leave the company. They want to hire an employee who is energetic. They want to hire an employee who takes leadership roles. Now again, business intelligence tools can help organizations develop that kind of intelligence so the HR can determine which employee to hire. Which patient will develop cancer before age 40? Well, this is also again an important question, because you want to manage how they live their life. You want to interfere with these patients who have a very high probability of getting sick. You want to interfere early on and try to lower the probability of them, for example, developing cancer. So you may put them on a specific diet, get them to exercise on a daily basis, and so on, and that will decrease the probability of them developing cancer before age 40. And then, of course, an important question is, who are the customers that I should focus on? Who are the customers that are valuable to me? So now, if I know how much is being generated in terms of sales from Plan A versus Plan B, if I find out what is the average age of customers preferring a particular salesperson, if I find out how many on average, how many coupons on average does women use compared to men, Now, as a business, I can make better decisions. I can offer women more coupons because I know they are going to use them. I may assign the young generation customers to salesperson S3 because they love him, they prefer him. I can see that customers on plan A are doing much better. They are placing more orders than on plan B. So here I'm getting now intelligence. We were supposed to do this in class, but I'm going to ask you what kind of information or what kind of attributes do you need for information. So if you are preparing for a test, and I give you for an MIS test, and I give you marketing exams, you will say these are not relevant. I cannot use them to help me do better on MIS. So whatever information you are retrieving, you want that information to be relevant, which means it applies to your situation. You want it to be accurate. So if someone says, I heard they are saying that Professor Sharif, for example, is very difficult. That's a rumor. You don't know. I haven't taught before in Qatar, so you cannot base your decision on just a rumor that's not accurate. You want accurate information. You want information that applies today. So if someone finds my teaching evaluation in 1998, well, of course I have grown quite a bit and I gained a lot of experience, so I have changed the way I teach. And definitely my teaching evaluation in 98 would not be valid today. You want the information to be accessible, which means you can retrieve it. You can bring it back anytime, any place, and on any device. So if you are using your phone, you can still get that information. You don't have to log on to the computer in order to get the information. So accessible means it is available, readily available. You don't have to go through a lot of measures in order to get the information. Maybe just like put a user ID and a password, and then you get access to that information. So that's one of the requirements that you have. And you also want information in the right form. By that I mean, you do not expect executives, for example, at the top to read 100-page report. They will not read it. They will just like go through it quickly, trying to find the table or trying to find something that summarizes the information. So you need to understand what is the right form to present the information. If you are going to talk to an accountant, all the accountant sees and understands are numbers. So you better be giving them a table that they can look at so that they can understand what's going on. So you want the timeliness of the information, which means that the information is provided to you when you need it. And that the information is also describing the right time period, which means that if you are making a study of contemporary, meaning like current events, you cannot have information from the 1900s. That would not be timely. The location is also important. You want, as we said, the information anywhere, anytime, any place, and on any device. Form is important. If you are giving information to an executive, then you need it to be in a summarized format. Sometimes, like students don't want to read text, they want audio or they want video. So you need the information in the right form. And you want it to be valid. Valid that is different from accurate. Accurate meaning it is true, whereas valid means that it is valid in today, at now. It is credible now. I can depend on it now. It could have been valid 10 years ago, but today it's no longer valid. If you depend on information that is not timely, that is not location specific, that's not in the right form, and it's not valid, then we say it's, I'm sorry to use the word, but it's like garbage. So if I put garbage in, then the decision that I would make will also be garbage out. So if the information is not timely, is not valid, is not in the right form, is not or is at a location that's not accessible, then all of that will affect the decision that I would make. And what we say is garbage in, garbage out. If you put garbage in while in, then whatever you will get is garbage out. So we want to find out 3 directions of information within the classroom, generally. Information can flow from the teacher to the student, or from the student to the teacher. You can tell me information about Doha and about Qatar because I'm not originally from here. That will help me. I give you information about the syllabus. And then you can help each other, peer to peer, meaning another student can help other students in class regarding a particular homework or just helping them with understanding concepts and so on. And you also can tell other students in other sections. And other faculty can also help me. So same thing happens within the organization. If we look at an organization and we look at this pyramid as the organization, you see information flow from the top down. So the executive at the very top, they formulate the strategy. They identify the goals and they send that information down. So if we look at Qatar University, the president at the very top will formulate, and his cabinet will formulate some strategies, and they'll send them all the way down to the employees, different employees in the different departments. But also the employees provide information to the executive at the top. They tell them what happens on a day-to-day basis. So any transactions that happen at the very bottom of the pyramid, information about that transaction trickles up to the executive. We have different departments talking to each other. So the accounting is talking to the HR is talking to the faculty and so on. So you have also between the functional areas what I call peer-to-peer. So one department talking to another department. But we also have communication going on from inside of the organization to people who are outside of the organization. I need to communicate with my customer. I need to communicate with my suppliers. I need to communicate with my business partners. So you understand that what goes from the top down are strategies and goals. What goes from the bottom up is what's going on within the organization, the current status. A lot of the information will travel side, horizontally, between peers, so people in different departments will share information. And then we have also information in and out of the organization. Either the customers are telling me something that I didn't know about their taste and their preferences. And I provide, of course, the customers information about my prices. I can give them additional information about things that are not directly even related to my products. Some of the information that you provide or that's communicated is fine grained, meaning it has a lot of details. And other information is coarse grained. So when you provide information to the executive at the top, because they do not have much time, then you have to give them coarse granularity, meaning not a lot of details. Coarse granularity meaning it doesn't have a lot of details. Technology play a role in disseminating information. So if I am at the very top of the organization and I want everyone within the organization to know, I'm going to use something called an intranet. which is an internal network. So only people within the organization can see information on the intranet. And I'm going to disseminate information through the intranet. That information will reach every single person within the organization. Then information technology also perform transaction processing. Every day they run a lot of transactions. An example would be point of sale. When you are checking out of a store, the cashier, she's running all of these products that you have bought and dumping all of that information in a transaction processing system. That transaction processing system will, for example, check the quantity multiplied with the price in order to get a subtotal. Technology can help also with training. You will see, you are going to use Lynda, and you will see how these videos help people get trained in new technology. We also have monitoring system that make sure nothing goes wrong. You also have sensors that are sending information, as we said, every half an hour or so. They will send information that they have collected about the environment around them. And then you have technology. All that the technology is doing is just summarizing information, which means they take numbers and they generate graphs and charts and so on. And then some of the new things that we are seeing information technology do is predicting what will happen in the future. And then once they predict the future, they can suggest a course of action, and that's prescription or prescribing. They prescribe something new so that you can be more competitive. So just to summarize the previous slide, we said information can travel upward, which means from the low level of the organization to the executive at the top. When is that? That's when you are doing transactions. So you're providing information about your daily transaction. How many did I sell of that particular product? Information goes downward from the executive to low levels when we are trying to disseminate information about strategies, the goals, the policies. And then, of course, information travel horizontally, and that's between the different business units and the different working teams. And then it also transfers outside of the organization or inside of the organization. So if I'm communicating with my customers, that's outward. If my customers are providing me suggestions on how to improve my products, then that's inward. So internal information is about how the organization is doing their operation. External information is about the environment, about the laws and regulations outside that are governed by the government. And then you have objective information. These are just like quantifiable, like total sales or average age. These are objective. You have also subjective information, and these are personal opinions.